I was originally going to entitle this vlog post Why Fashion Matters, and then in the course of recording, I realized that maybe fashion doesn't matter, and that's actually a very adverse and startling conclusion, which I didn't want to get to, but that may very well explain why all of my fashion industry colleagues, especially editors, writers, and journalists, are in a deep funk about it. Fashion just doesn't possess that profound creativity which it used to. Fashion used to be a lot more idealistic pursuit. And with the loss of idealism, due mostly to commercial pressure and now social media, we see a corresponding loss of creativity and originality. I grew up in the 1980s, and you had designers like Bill Blass, Jeffrey Bean, Mary McFadden selling $3,000 dresses. Now you have to remember, this is in the 1980s, so a $3,000 dress was the price of a Range Rover. And it was this elite group of cognoscenti who would consume design, and therefore standards were high. The desire for the zenith of artistic integrity and creativity were totally uncompromising. They were clients, but they had the viewpoints of art collectors. They didn't want the designers to compromise. And therefore, the creative output actually matched these extremely high standards and expectations. Fast forward 30 years from then, and we're in a world of masstige. The watershed epoch was ushered in by Calvin Klein jeans. That was basically the beginning of what we call mass luxury. And of course, you see the decline in the quality of creativity, which is, let's admit it, commensurate with the decline in the quality of the end consumer, who basically has a very, very different set of requirements for what they want to put on their back. And nowadays, one of the main barometers of success, or one of the main proxies of success, a phenomenon I find totally awful, is social media footprint, which is a very superficial and gross measurement of the worthiness of a designer. I mean, Justin Bieber is popular, but it doesn't mean that he is Beethoven. Instead of the critical eye that someone like Carrie Donovan or Diana Vreeland would have brought to a fashion collection, what we look at now is, oh my God, Kim Kardashian wore it, and this designer has a following of more than 1 million people, therefore this must be a worthy collection. Sometimes people ask me like, well, what's wrong with that? Isn't it okay, the democratization of style? I think it's totally okay, but not if clothing which is stratospherically priced is being judged by performance and popularity markers which are inherently hollow and meaningless. That is why it matters, because we continue to value in both aesthetic terms and monetary terms fashion, which in and of itself is not as rich and satisfying as it used to be 20, 25 years ago. What you see happening in the fashion world is what has already happened in the music industry. And I actually think it has happened in the fashion industry. I just don't think that we have recognized it for what it is yet, unfortunately. But it explains the sense of hollowness and disappointment and the loss of zest in shopping for fashion. There isn't any uncompromising artistic vision underpinning most fashion collections these days. To analogize with the music industry, way back when you would have albums like The Wall, or you would even have a Bruce Springsteen album, or it didn't even matter, it could be Def Leppard. The Wall was an epic double album. It had an arc which was operatic, it had a true narrative, there was a hallucinatory, fascinating, crazy artistic vision behind it, and The Wall had to be considered as an integrated whole. That kind of really enigmatic, challenging, integrated output, the record album, as we used to know it, has now been replaced by a series of single hits by Justin Bieber, by Rihanna, by Beyonce, by Adele. I don't want to say Adele. I don't follow any of these people, by the way. I'm just saying, like, this is what I know off the top of my head. I don't know the style these people sing in. Katy Perry, I suppose they all probably do the same thing. And these hit songs tend to contain very hackneyed riffs, which are intended to provoke certain knee-jerk musical reactions in the auditor. They're not giving us an oeuvre which inspires and challenges us and commands our allegiance because of its originality and uncompromising vision. Nowhere does this analogy between music and fashion make more sense than in the realm of shopping. Shopping isn't fun anymore. I consider it to be completely chaotic. I'm looking at a fractured mosaic of single items from designers whose work I don't know, let alone follow, whose creativity mostly seems to zigzag here and there without strong rhyme or reason, and who I certainly don't feel channel who I am. Designers are not really expressing anything authentic and long-term, which resonate with us as individuals, consumers, women, thinkers. It's not all sackcloth and ashes. I think it's obvious to anyone watching this that you wish you had some great curators. You wish that there was some easy way to identify them and follow them. That time will come when people of quality, when curators of quality, when fashionistas of quality are going to reemerge. In a few years, it's going to be as commonplace to know how to use Final Cut Pro and Google Analytics as it is to use Microsoft Word and Excel. This is just a moment of technological arbitrage where people who don't possess the inherent authority or even taste have been dominating the bully pulpit, mostly because they're more technologically conversant with the tools of communication today. In the end, ultimately, curators, tastemakers, stylish people who deserve a commensurate share of voice are going to triumph. If you're not content to wait until that time when that level of technology or that type of technology becomes baked into the educational curriculum permanently, or if you are afraid that you've already missed the boat, you can always jump into the fray now. And you can look at my example as a 49-year-old woman who was not content to just sit here on the sidelines without saying her 2 cents.